The first time I ever felt real fear was not in some haunted place, it was not in the woods or on the road at night. It was inside my own school, the place that was supposed to be safe, the place where nothing bad was supposed to happen. But that night I learned how fast safety can melt away and how quickly a normal day can turn into a nightmare. You can never forget it happened during my senior year. Right before finals, the time when everyone is stressed, tired, and running on caffeine, we was sitting in the last class of the day when the intercom made a sound I had never heard before, not the regular beep, not the normal announcement tone. This one sounded distorted, like someone pressed the mic too hard or like someone was breathing into it. The whole room went silent. We waited for the voice that usually followed, but nothing came through, only static and a slow, uneven hiss that crawled under everyone's skin. Then the lights flickered once, twice, and turned completely off. The entire hallway outside our room felt dead silent, the kind of silence that feels wrong, that feels like the world just stopped spinning, and every single person in the room turned their head at the same exact time toward the door because something heavy just brushed against it. At first we thought it was a drill, but our teacher whispered no drills after 3:30, and his voice cracked in a way that told us he knew this was real. He locked the door and pushed a desk against it and told us to stay away from the windows, stay away from the lights, stay low, and stay quiet. He said it fast, his breath shaking like he was scared of his own words. Then we all heard it, the announcement tone again, and this time a voice came through, except it did not sound like any staff member we had ever heard. It was a whisper, slow, thin, stretched out like someone was speaking through their teeth. It said, "Lockdown. Now lights off, stay hidden, stay still, and do not look into the hallway," the voice repeated. That last part, do not look into the hallway, and the way it said it made every hair on my body rise, like the voice was not warning us, like it was begging us. My friend Jess was crouched next to me, gripping my arm so tight my fingers went numb. She mouthed, "This is wrong," because everyone remembers how announcements sound. The school system is old, glitchy, and always too loud. That voice was none of that. It was calm, controlled, and 2 clear minutes went by, but they felt like hours. The temperature in the room dropped fast, like something was sucking the heat out of the air, and even our breathing sounded too loud. Then the footsteps started, slow, heavy, uneven, one step dragging the next, like something was pulling its weight down the hall. Someone in the back started crying softly, and the teacher reached over to cover their mouth, but before he could, the footsteps stopped right in front of our door. You could hear every breath inside that room go silent. We all froze the way prey freezes when a predator is closed. The door handle twitched once, like someone was testing it, then again, but slower, twisting a little, then stopping, then twisting back, like someone was trying to figure out how locks worked. The teacher held his finger to his lips and mouthed, "Do not move." I could feel Jess shaking next to me, her breath hitting my ear, uneven and shallow. The door handle twitched one more time, and then came the sound that made my stomach turn, a long, deep inhale, like something sniffing at the door, sensing us through the dark. Then the lights in the hallway flickered on for half a second. Through the thin gap beneath the door we saw a shadow, not a normal human shadow. It was too tall, too stretched, too bent at the wrong angles, like whoever was standing there was not standing right. The light flickered off again, and the footsteps continued slowly, dragging farther down the hallway. Nobody spoke for a full minute. We stayed frozen, waiting for another sound, another step, another breath, but instead the intercom turned on again, that same distorted beep, but this time the voice was different. It was our real principal this time. Panicked, rushed, telling every classroom that the system had been hacked, telling teachers to keep doors locked, telling students to stay hidden. That confirmed one terrifying thing: the voice before was not staff, and whatever was outside our door was real. We stayed locked down for another hour and a half, listening to muffled running noises, distant screams, police radios, then silence again. When officers finally opened our door, the hallway lights were on. The building was full of uniforms, and everyone looked confused and shaken. We asked what they found, but nobody gave answers. Not the officers, not the principal, nobody, except one detail leaked from a teacher upstairs. Someone had found long black marks across the floors, like deep claw drags, draping from one end of the hallway to the other, and they were still warm, like whatever made them had just been there moments before the officers arrived. That night, I realized something terrifying about lockdowns. They are not always about people. Sometimes they are about something else, something that does not care about doors or locks or rules. Something that knows how fear works, something that walks slowly because it knows you cannot run forever, and sometimes it speaks through the intercom. The second story comes from a freshman named Tyler, the kind of kid who never caused trouble, who never skipped class, who never lied, the kind of kid who teachers trusted without thinking twice. So when he told us what he saw during the lockdown last winter, we knew he was not making any of it up, and honestly, his story still messes with my sleep. It happened on a Thursday afternoon, a normal boring day. Right after lunch, the hallway still smelled like microwave pizza and cheap sanitizer. When the lights shut off without warning, not flickering, not dimming, just gone, swallowed into pitch black, and before anyone could ask what was happening, the loudspeaker crackled a violent burst of static, and every student stopped mid-step because the words coming through did not sound human. It was a long rasp, stretched like someone forcing breath through a broken throat. It said, "Lockdown. Now stay still, stay silent, stay in place." Every teacher stepped into action, pushing students into classrooms, pulling doors shut, turning off lights, but Tyler had not made it that far. He was stuck in the hallway between the science wing and the old gym and the nearest classroom door had already slammed, locked, the little rectangular windows showing only darkness inside. He backed up against the lockers, breathing too loud, trying to steady himself, but the hallway remained empty, silent, and wrong. The air felt heavier, colder, like something huge was moving in the dark, even though no footsteps echoed. No voices whispered, no movement showed up at all. Then the emergency lights flickered on, low red lights, barely bright enough to outline the walls, and that is when he saw it at the far end of the hallway. Something crouched low to the ground, a shape darker than the shadows around it. It looked like a person bent in half, but stretched too far, limbs way too long, arms dragging across the floor like they were made of wet rope. The creature did not walk, it pulled itself forward, slow, scraping, dragging, leaving faint trails across the tile floor like it was marking its path. Tyler froze, his throat tight, trying not to scream. He pressed himself harder against the lockers, but the metal vibrated like something behind it was moving too, like the walls were alive, breathing with him, matching his fear, heartbeat for heartbeat, and the creature turned its head toward him, even though it had no face. No eyes, nothing but a smooth black surface like melted plastic. It started crawling faster, dragging itself with sudden jerking motions like a puppet pulled by invisible strings. Every sound it made was wrong, a soft tearing noise mixed with a wet clicking like bones twisting the wrong direction. Tyler tried to run, but the hallway tilted slightly, like his balance was being pulled backward, like gravity itself wanted him closer to the creature. He forced himself forward, fighting every instinct, screaming at him to drop to the floor and cry. He reached the corner near the gym doors, and that is when the loudspeaker crackled again, this time with a voice that made him stop dead. It was his mother's voice, but that was impossible. She was at work, miles away, yet her voice echoed through the speakers, calling his name 3 times, slow, soft, begging him to stop running, telling him to come back to the end of the hallway because she needed him. He said the sound nearly broke him because it was perfect, the tone, the warmth, the way she always said his name when he was scared, but his mother would never be in the school and definitely not on the loudspeaker. And while the voice spoke, something else happened. The creature stopped crawling and slowly stood up straight, its body unfolding upward like it had heard the same voice calling him and liked it. The red emergency lights flickered again, and in that split second of darkness, the creature vanished completely, like it had never been there. No footsteps, no dragging sounds, no breath, nothing, just an empty hallway behind him and his mother's soft voice still whispering his name through the speakers, urging him to return. Tyler covered his ears, stumbling toward the gym. He pushed the door open and slipped inside the dark room, holding his breath until he could hear the muffled voices of the real staff shouting for police to sweep the halls. When officers finally found him, he was shaking, eyes wide, like he had seen something impossible, and the emergency lights were normal again. No trails on the floor, no marks, no broken tiles. But here is the part that the school never released. No one outside the janitorial staff knew this, except a few teachers, and they tried to keep it quiet. When they cleaned the hallway later, they found drag marks, deep ones, as if something very heavy had pulled itself across the floor inch by inch, except the marks were not on top of the tile. They were carved into it like claws made of metal, had gouged straight through the surface, and whatever left those marks had left them warm to the touch. The School blamed faulty lights, a speaker glitch, a power surge, and that is the story they officially told everyone. But Tyler swears one thing to this day: whenever he is alone, especially in a hallway or a parking garage or an empty room, he can still hear that same soft voice calling his name, sounding exactly like his mother, and every time he hears it, he knows the creature is close, watching, waiting, wanting him to turn around and come home to it.